14 seconds. You love the intro, don't you?
I do.
It's my own superhero theme song. Well, good morning, everybody. Or in the case, I already saw in the chat, it is 3 a.m. in New Zealand, and Derry is here to hang out. So I guess it's still good morning for you, Derry. But I don't know if you stayed up or you got up early, but thank you for being here. Anyway, anyone that's here to hang out in the chat, I'm really excited to resume the brunch and book talk today. And I have two of my favorite book reviewers on BookTube, and just two really great people that we're going to have fun, chatting with for the next 90 minutes to 2 hours or whatever. And we'll see where the chat goes. But if you're in the chat, say hello. And if you have any questions for us as we go along, like how our reading's going and so forth, feel free to do that. But we'll just go ahead and start to my right, as we always start, since we are on brand of brunch and book talk. So welcome, Jimmy from the Fantasy Network. What are you drinking and what are you reading right now?
So I am having a nice little iced coffee here that came from an espresso. I've actually conceded. I know you have a French press, Josh. I've actually conceded, and I went to something that has pods. Now, I do think the Nespresso is a little finer, I guess, than maybe the Keurig, but maybe not at all. Maybe I'm just getting ripped off, but makes pretty good espresso. So that's what I'm having. This is my second one. Going to try to get a little wired here today, get a little kooky, if you will. I just started Eyes of the Void by Adrian Tchaikovsky, which is the second book in the Final Architecture. I'm really enjoying it so far. And then I'm also reading Book Lovers by Emily Henry, because I'm reading that so I can have a discussion with my wife, Kelsey, who's already read it, and Christina and Alan are actually reading it from Library of Alexandria. So we're going to do like a double date book discussion about that book. It's going to be pretty interesting, considering the fact that me and Alan don't really read a lot of romance or Emily Henry. And then I'm reading like two other books that I'm just bouncing back and forth between that shall not be named, because they're a bit of a surprise for down the road. Cool. And also because I might not finish either of them, so I don't want to disappoint people.
You don't want to jinx it.
Exactly. It's going well so far, but my track record with these things has been checkered at best. So I'm trying to keep my expectations in check by just not running my big fat mouth like I always do. So
yeah, I saw you're reading the Emily Henry, and then I remembered you have the dedicated channel on your Discord for Litfic. Chick lit is.
Yeah, we got hot girl fiction, we got romance.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Nice.
So that's funny. So yeah, I'm sure that'll be a good chat with both you and your wives about that.
Yes.
I'm excited. And so far, I got to tell you, I'm only like 5 chapters in. It's really not bad. Like yeah. A lot of people make it sound like it's completely unreadable. I actually think that the writing is fairly competent and like pretty interesting. Actually, I don't know if I necessarily care about like the plot, but it has a good voice to it, which is really one of the number one requirements for me to be into a read. So yeah. I'm happy so far.
Well, that's great, and I'm with you. I'm on Team Nespresso. I've gone through like 3 Keurigs, and they die within like 2 years for me, it seems. And actually, I only do the French press on the weekends. I do like during the work week. I just make a double espresso in the morning, and that's pretty much all I need. So
easy. It
really is.
And I love a good French press. I love a good coffee, but it gets the job done. And honestly, it tastes pretty good. It's not bad.
Yeah, I'm a fan. Good morning, Anitha. Early stream on Sunday is a crime. So, Johanna, welcome back to the channel. So what are you drinking and what are you reading?
Yeah, so before I start, I'll just say that I think Book Lovers of the Emily Henry books I've read is my favorite. And so I'm really excited to watch that discussion because I've actually gotten to that one. As we talked about before we started streaming, I am drinking some Everclear. So we'll see how things go. And I am reading Sword of the Lictor by Gene Wolfe and loving the heck out of it. I'm so surprised how much I'm like wanting to devour this in some ways. I'm taking it slowly though. I'm buddy reading it a couple of chapters a day with Jake from Nerd Level Rising, which has been a lot of fun. And additionally, I picked up Mockingbird, which was Jimmy's Patreon pick of the month that he drew from Bridger Library Ladder. And the way it was described, post-apocalyptic, short, literary, it got to me. I thought, hey, I have this for free because technically, I have it as part of my subscription for Everend, and my Everend subscription is about to end at the end of the month. And so I thought, why not? So I'm about, I guess, like almost a third of the way through that book, which is interesting. And so I'm excited to watch the wrap up on Jimmy's channel to talk about that or to hear thoughts about that because I know everybody's been reading it in your Discord. And yeah, so that's me. What about you, Josh?
First of all, who's the author on Mockingbird? I want to write that one down.
William Tevis, I believe.
Oh, okay, that's right.
It's definitely Tevis because he also wrote The Man That Fell to the Earth or whatever, and he also did Queen's Gambit. It's Walter Tevis. I'm sorry, Walter Tevis.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
cool. Writing that down. I always have these streams, and I always add like 10 books to my TBR from whoever I'm chatting with, and then whoever's in the comments. So, yeah. As for me, I am drinking. I always make the French press on the weekend. The coffee I have, actually, a student gifted this to me. It's this Hawaiian coffee called Green Hill Farms, I think is what it's called. It's really good. So that's what I'm drinking. And actually, it's fortuitous what I'm reading right now. Good morning, Jenny Words. I'm reading your book, Master of White Storm, right now. Probably about halfway through that one, and really enjoying it. So
awesome.
And Derry does not sleep. So, yeah, welcome everybody in the chat. So Anita throwing shade at you there, Jimmy.
She always is. I mean, Anita, if there's one hater in the world left, it's going to be Anita 100% of the time.
Love it. I love it. Got a lot of people here that are espresso fans. So that's good. Sarah Beth has pumpkin pecan coffee.
Ooh, that sounds delightful.
Yeah, I'm here for the pecan, but not necessarily the pumpkin.
Not a pumpkin guy, huh?
Mm-mm.
Do you just hate fun, or
do you just hate fall?
Yeah, both. No, I never liked the flavor of pumpkin. Like people would eat pumpkin seeds or whatever. I never liked that. Like pumpkin pie, just no. Like Thanksgiving, I'll take the apple pie over the pumpkin pie every time. So.
Well, apple pie is superior. That's factual, but
yeah.
I like a good pumpkin every now and then.
I guess Brian and Anita are taking notes there.
Yeah, I know. I'll bell too. You know, I even have one of his mugs. I used it this week. I guess I'm gonna put it in the dishwasher and let it get scratched off.
Love it. Coffee black. Currently reading The Sparrow. I have that on my. Have either of you read that? That's on my physical TBR.
I own the physical edition too. Jimmy's read it, right?
Yeah, I've read it. Yeah, it was really good. It was a bit different than I was expecting. I think based on like the premise, right, is like this kind of inspection of religion and like first contact. I was kind of wanting it to be a little bit more. I don't know, more. I guess maybe it's just a little bit more, but without a doubt, it has one of the more harrowing takes on like a first contact kind of outreach. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I started the sequel, Children of God, I believe is what it's called, and started into it and kind of just said, maybe not right now. It is a bit drier probably than some other books that I've read, but I think I gave it a very favorable rating. I really enjoyed it by the end of it. I think the Broken Binding is releasing a new edition of it, and I hated the cover that they did. I thought it was terrible.
Yeah.
Which maybe I'm a hater, but I don't know. I just saw the cover and I was like, that's it. Like, it was just very generic. I kind of wish they would have done more. I love the fact that they're doing these, but you know, I want every single one. That's
strange because I usually find the opposite with them. I think they sometimes go too far and it's kind of garish. Like I got so happy to get the Rift War Saga, and I hated the editions. I ended up selling them.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
You hated them?
Yeah.
Josh, it made me want to read the series. I actually was
well, you should read the series, but I prefer the art on my mass market paperbacks, actually.
I need to look these up.
Yeah, part of it is when the cover is so colorful and then they continue it to the sprayed edges. It's almost like sensory overload, and it's just I thought it was kind of gross, to be honest. So but I do tend to like more, I don't know, more traditional. I like old school covers a lot more than a lot of those ones too. So
Yeah, I mean, I love old pulpy covers. I mean, it's why I still have all the Wheel of Time mass markets, because I just, they kind of stopped doing those covers. And I was like, well, I want these. Like, this is almost like a piece of history for the fantasy genre, in my opinion. So I'm with you on that. I think sprayed edges are devilishly overrated at this point. They're on everything. Like, they're not really special anymore.
You're right. They're not special anymore. So a lot of people in the chat. Esme's here. John's here. Looks like he's drinking Diet Dr. Pepper.
Have you all, by the way, seen the special editions for the Farseer trilogy that have been going around? I don't think they're broken binding.
No, that was Curious King, and those were amazing, but above my pay grade.
I didn't even look at the price, but they look so gorgeous. I'm like,
they were gorgeous. They had 3 different levels. They came out, they came out like a month or 2 ago, and there were 3 different levels. And actually, I think the highest level was not the nicest ones. There were these ones that just was kind of in the buckkeep blue, and they were just gorgeous. But it made me look for. I have the Folio Society Farseer trilogy.
Oh wow!
Which I won a eBay auction at a price that's embarrassingly low. I was so happy for that. But
great.
Yeah, but the Curious King ones were the ones that made me want to get those for sure. After I saw that, I was like, oh, I need some Hobbs special editions in my life.
Yeah. I keep telling myself, I'm like, I'm not a special editions person. I'm not a special edition. And then I keep on like, well, if it's my favorite series, then, or one of my favorite series, it gets me. It just gets me sometimes.
I got the Illumicrate Farseer trilogy that came out just a little bit ago.
And, you did get it.
Those look nice. Yeah.
I really, and actually, to be honest, I mean, I thought they looked nice, but they look much better in person. I kind of feel the same way. I just got the Shadows Linger special edition from Midworld Press for Black Company. And the first one they released for the first book was awesome. Like, I was like, this is one of my favorite covers I have. Wasn't so thrilled with the second one. I felt a little uninspired, but I got it in person. And I was like, actually, I kind of like it. It kind of looks nice. So I'm getting more and more selective with the special editions that I get. And sometimes I almost feel silly having the broken binding subscription, because there's so many books that come out. I don't know when I'm ever going to get to, or if, like Mask of Mirrors, like I really just don't know.
Yeah.
Is that really going to happen? Probably not. Now, Rift War, I will say, kind of like it gives me almost a reason. I'm like, man, maybe I need to get to Rift War. It's such a popular trilogy when you look at the grand scheme of fantasy, that I should probably at least attempt it, right? That'd probably be a good thing.
The one thing I like about broken binding, though, is they a lot of times, if you don't like the cover art, the naked hardcovers are often have something. Because like I haven't read it yet, actually, but Greenbone Saga, those ones, I didn't like the cover art. It was kind of generic, but I took them off, and it's like they're red, green, and blue. I mean, they're very colorful and have a nice spine presence on the shelf and everything. So there is that option. But Heidi, I did just write that down. Cortado with a pinch of brown sugar. That sounds amazing. Brothers Karamazov is also amazing.
There's a lot of words in there I didn't know how to spell.
Johanna picked up the book Jimmy read.
I know. Oh, I'm going to get in trouble.
That's funny. I love this, John. And I know we were chatting on Alan's Discord about this, but I just, for anyone that's not aware, I just finished Long Price Quartet and buddy reading with John and Alan, and we'll be talking about the last book probably in the next week and a half. We're still nailing down a time for that, but great series for sure. I meant to do a hijack TBR this year, and it didn't happen. Just trying to catch up with my physical TBR. Esme, you're not missing anything. Pumpkin spice, nope.
You should definitely try it. You should try it. So kind of a TBR shakeup. I feel like every month my TBR gets absolutely hijacked from my Patreon pick, and I'm like, man.
Yeah. No, I think when I get my physical TBR back down, I was doing quarterly polls on the channel that way because I don't have a Patreon, and having them pick different books, and I kind of like that. I'll get back to that at some point. Probably.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, it's just I've been obsessed with lowering my physical TBR. For some reason, like it stresses me out to have like a high read to unread ratio. And I hit 100 unread books in my house, and I was like, that is too much. So I've been reducing it. I'm in the 70s now, so I'm making progress, but the math still doesn't math, because like I've read 79 books this year, and I've went from 100 to like 75 in my physical TBR. So I'm still buying, but it's at least lowering, I guess.
I don't want to talk about the ratio of my physical.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. But you have.
We're just not going to do that.
So Aslan, that's great that you've started the Accursed Kings. There are a lot of characters, but it does start to turn into a little bit more focused, but it is a widespread tale. If you guys don't know that one, that's the Accursed Kings by Maurice Druyon.
Yeah, I've read the
7-book. Yeah, 7-book historical fiction. I read it because George R.R. Martin called it the original Game of Thrones.
And the first chapter is like straight up like Robert Baratheon and Cersei, essentially.
Really?
Oh yeah. I actually really like the first chapter. It's just one of those things like, when do you fit a 7-book series in at a random time? But I bought that same reason, Josh. I was like, well, I'd like to see what he's talking about.
That sounds like it'd be appealing. I think the challenge for me when it comes to some of the unread books I have on my shelf is that I'll get them at a certain point, and if I don't get to them right away, they'll sit there, they'll languish on my shelf, and then later on, but a year or two later, I'll realize I think my taste has changed, and I don't know if it's going to appeal to me anymore. So that's the challenge with a lot of the unread books on my shelf, is I don't know that they really align with my taste anymore. So, yeah.
No, I feel you, because I go through kind of phases with different genres kind of dominating what I'm most interested in. And, if I'm feeling sci-fi or historical fiction or crime fiction or something, and I look over and I have like 50 unread fantasy books, I'm like, oh, do I need to do that? Or, where should I go? So that makes sense here. Love this. Lord of the Rings for the very first time. Very cool. All right. Love that. More Mockingbird love. Very, very cool.
I got some hate for it too, though. Don't worry. I got
okay.
Well, not real hate, but I had some things that maybe I didn't love necessarily about it, but it's certainly worth a read. Johanna's been a third of the way through that book for like a month though, so I'm thinking
a month. I just started it like 2 days ago.
You think it's a stinker, don't you? You think it sucks?
We'll find out. It seems to have some like Adam and Eve symbolism going on. That's like what I'm picking up so far. That there's like
Adam and Eve, weed is very bad.
Humanity is checked out, toked up, and robots are doing all the heavy lifting.
That sounds like next year.
Yeah. There you go.
Interesting. Have either of you guys read this one? I have this one on my physical TBR.
I have it on my physical TBR as well.
Yeah, this is one I definitely want to read soon. A friend gifted me this one.
I liked it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot. I know, Jimmy, you said you liked it. And then who was it? Words in Time. Jonathan liked it quite a bit. So I've been seeing a lot of people like it quite a bit. I don't know that the people I've heard read it say it's like an all-time new favorite type of situation, but usually fairly positive.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. I think it's pretty unique. And I heard about it from Quinn's Ideas.
Great channel.
Obviously. Yeah. And not phenomenal channel. But I don't know. Octopuses are just kind of cool.
They are.
Interesting. Does Quinn still put content out? Because I don't think I've seen him for a while.
He does. Yeah.
Fairly regularly. I mean, not like every week, but he'll go on sprees where he'll upload like once every 2 weeks for like maybe 2 or 3 months. And the hard part is it's always spoiler filled, right? So I'm always trying to kind of avoid them. But I saw Mountain and Sea come up on the thing. I watched just the opening of his video, and I was like, all right, stop. I'm gonna buy that right now. And I bought it, and I did enjoy it. It wasn't like the greatest experience of my life, but it made me. I'll keep an eye on Ray Naylor. His newest book just came out. It didn't sound that interesting to me, unfortunately. The premise, I think it was. If I can remember correctly, I think it's a little bit more cyberpunky, but I could be wrong about that. But I just remember reading it and being like, maybe the next one.
Yeah. Interesting. Oh, Derry's got the Illumicrate ones too. Very
Yay. I'm so happy you have
those. A special edition of Robin Hobb. It's Derry for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Now I guess we're like 10 minutes behind on the comments. I'll try to catch up here. um, so Jimmy, you mentioned this one. I don't know this book, Mask of Mirrors.
Yeah, it's by a combination of authors that I think go by M.A. McCormick or M.A. Cormick or something like that. The reason why I was kind of interested in it at first is because I got it mixed up with Alchemy and Mirrors, which is a series that Alan read. And I went to Barnes and Noble and bought the wrong book. So that was pretty funny. And so I actually had the normal paperback of this book. And then Broken Binding did their edition of it. So I have all three of them. And the thing that M.A. Carey, thank you, Anita. I was not even really close, I guess. But the thing that I thought was interesting, apparently the magic is like all tarot like based. And I just thought that sounded kind of cool. And I've heard that it's a bit different than a lot of the other stuff out there. So I don't know. I will definitely give it a shot the next probably 30 to 40 years. I just don't know when. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
I've heard of it. Yeah, I've seen it around for a while. I don't know why I just never got hooked into the premise, but maybe Jimmy will prove me wrong. I'd be really curious to hear your thoughts if you get to it.
Yeah, I'll let you know in 2077.
Chadia makes me feel good about my 75. I have a small house though, and I have already 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 bookshelves that are pretty much full, and it's like I don't want to keep getting more until I read what I have. I do want to read Musashi for sure. That's another one.
I've been really curious about more Japanese fiction. There's a female, I don't know if it's crime or horror author that's really big in Japan right now. Oh, what was the name of the book? I cannot remember now. But I was going to ask you about it, Josh. I don't know. If Japanese recommendations, though, very interested in those.
Yeah.
Dang, that was written in 1935.
Yeah.
900 pages.
I'm gonna check out my Amazon to see if
I'm gonna remove that from my want to be read. Nope, 900 pages too many.
All right, I think I am caught up on the chat here, which is nice. So I think a good thing I always like, because we're almost at the fourth quarter of the year. So what are some surprises that you guys had of some things that you read this year, either positive or negative? A book that you didn't think you'd love, or a book that you thought you'd love and were disappointed in. I'll start with my disappointeds. 2 by Stephen King, which Johanna and I just buddy read one of them together. We just buddy read The Talisman that he co-wrote with Peter Straub, and it was just too long. And anyway, yeah. So King, I've read a bunch of King this year, and what's interesting is like all the novels I've read by King, which are basically rereads except for Never Flinch, had disappointed me. But every short fiction collection I've read, I've loved. So I'm enjoying his short fiction right now. But The Talisman really disappointed me. Never Flinch is probably my most disappointing read of the year. I just think King doesn't do crime fiction very well. He did pretty well in the Bill Hodges trilogy. I thought he did well there, but it seems like his last 2 books have just been like bereft of tension and just like, okay, I read that. Like I didn't feel anything at all. And so that's been disappointing for me. For sure. So any pleasant surprises or disappointments this year from either of you?
I think for me, a big disappointment, and it's weird to say it's a big disappointment because it's not a very well-known book anyways, but it's The Etched City by KJ Bishop. It's weird fiction from Australian author who I believe just gave up writing at some point and became like a sculptor, which is pretty interesting because The Etched City has a lot of art and sculptures in it. And there's so many things about the book that are interesting. However, it just didn't end up hitting that level that I was expecting. It gets compared to China Mieville a lot. So I was like, well, former nutty book of the year winner. I said, well, must be pretty good. And unfortunately, I never felt like the narrative really came together for me. And then there was some stuff that was supposed to be like inspection of like God and what is God. And that's something I'm always down for. But I felt like it was pretty like rudimentary. Like it didn't feel like anything I hadn't already asked myself. which, you know, is a personal thing, I suppose. As far as surprises go, I have three that I would like to point out. And one is Red Rabbit by Alex Gratian. It is a Western horror supernatural novel. I've talked about a decent amount on the channel just because I thought it was so fantastic. And I hope I can read Rose of Jericho at some point before the end of the year, the sequel to it, because it's set in colonial witch hunting times, which I'm all for. Windhaven by Lisa Tuttle and George R. R. Martin. I know that sounds weird, but I never really felt like it was going to be like an all-timer. That'd be good. Like, I think all of George's stuff's competent at the very least, but I think Windhaven's like one of the best fantasy books I've read in the last like 3 years, probably, and has just a wonderful main character and just tremendous, honestly. And then the other one I read last month, which is Crypt of the Moon Spider. It's a Lunar Gothic trilogy of novellas by Nathan Ballingrud, and the second one comes out next month. It's like 130 pages. I think Moon Spider was like 90 pages and just devilishly creepy. Like just really haunting in many ways. If you're an arachnophobe, you cannot read this book, this novella, but just really talented. So it's kind of interesting that two of my surprises were horror. But I also think Moon Spider is a little bit more of like almost like an alternate history sci-fi in some ways. It's a weird book. Or novella. I keep saying book, but those are probably the ones that stick out to me the most.
That's cool. It almost harkens back to kind of before we had these dividing lines of science fiction and fantasy and horror, where it was just, you know, you had the publications like Weird Tales and Amazing Tales and things like that, where people just told stories, and maybe there would be like cosmic horror, you know, it wouldn't necessarily be horror or sci-fi. It's a little bit of both. So
and George R. R. Martin used to say that, you know, science fiction, fantasy, and horror are all different rooms in the same house. And I've always thought about it like that. And I mean, it's very evident in his work, I think, even no matter if it's sci-fi or fantasy based, there's always a dash of horror in there, whether it's Lovecraftian inspired or just like downright creepy. Like there's all of that all over his works. And I think that, to me, when I see an author that does that, it almost feels like kind of a throwback to when those lines were a lot more blurred, especially in collections of short stories and such.
Yeah, I know when I added the talisman to my spreadsheet when I was just documenting that I finished it, I wrote it down as fantasy rather than horror.
Yeah.
It feels
it's definitely more fantasy.
Yeah, more fantasy than horror. Although there are a couple horror elements in there, but it's definitely more fantastical.
Yeah. Yeah, sadly, that one did not work for me. I actually would compare it quite a bit to Fairy Tale, which is my least favorite King. I don't know. They both are kind of along the same lines for each other. Now, there are some excellent moments in the Talisman. There were some moments that I thought, "Oh, that is really interesting." I liked a certain wolf character at times. But the weird thing is, I felt like there was so much effort and intention in the description and trying to make connections between it's a portal fantasy story is what it is. So it's about a young boy, for those who don't know, and his mother is dying of cancer. He has no other family left. He's 12 years old. And in order to save his mother, he learns about this portal fantasy world called the Territories. And he goes into the Territories to seek the talisman object, which is supposed to cure his mother. The Territories portal world has twin beings of our world, so it has major connections to our world historically and also with our own people. And I could tell so much effort was put into that, and I felt very detached. I just felt very detached from the story while still appreciating certain things. And every time we change sections in the story, I'm like, "Oh, this is getting interesting." And then it just felt like it got drawn on too long. I found the villains a bit lackluster for me. I found the side character annoying and whiny throughout the second half of the book. And yeah, I have other issues too, especially when it comes to questions regarding the female representation. It was written in the early 80s. I think King has probably grown as a writer since then, especially when it comes to his representation of women. But it just didn't quite capture my imagination the way I could tell it was trying to. And so, yeah, that was a bit of a miss for me, sadly. That was probably my most recent disappointing read. As far as like the books I'm enjoying recently, I've been most blown away how much I'm loving the Sword of the Lictor, because I would say I really liked the first book, The Shadow of the Torturer, and I liked the second one, The Claw of the Conciliator. It was very trippy, but I don't know that I would say I was like emotionally into the story or like really that hooked. And then with this book, I'm just finding every chapter there's so many lines that I feel like are just beautifully written, just so evocative. And the story just feels like it's coming together and making me rethink things from the beginning. And I'm just so happy to be on the journey. I'm just so intrigued. It's not perfect. There are things I could criticize, especially when it comes to the male gaze stuff. But I am really enjoying the prose quite a bit. I'm enjoying the story quite a bit. Uh, so yeah, I mean, there are a few others. I've been talking nonstop all year about I Who Have Never Known Men, which is also post-apocalyptic. Highly recommend that. I just was blown away by that story. I'm going to be rereading it soon later this year and trying to analyze it a little bit more deeply. Yeah, several books have been a pleasure this year, I think. But it has been a more hit and miss year for me than usual. It has been a more hit or miss year.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. I feel like I've read a lot of 4-star books, 3.5, 4-star books, but not as many like upper tier. I mean, I got like 6 or 7 amazing books, but like not nearly as many as in some years. And then definitely a few disappointments here. Anitha, this is a good question. What's one book you read this year you want to recommend to everyone? I need to open up my thing real quick.
Yeah, I
That's
think
a
I
hard
know my
one.
answer, but I'm not going to. I mean, I have one answer that's reasonable and then one answer that is not reasonable at all.
See, most of my best books this year have been, well, no, I reread Crime and Punishment. So there you go. There's mine. Because I was saying most of my books that are like my upper tier books were part of book series this year. Yeah, so I'll say Crime and Punishment for me.
We'll have to talk about Crime and Punishment sometime, Josh, because I really want to talk about the end of that book where I feel kind of mixed about it. But for me, it would not be Sword of the Lictor. As much as I just gushed about Gene Wolfe, I just don't think I would widely recommend it. However, I Who Have Never Known Men, hands down, the one I would universally recommend or recommend the most. And I know that people look at the title and they think, oh, feminist fiction. And yeah, there is, I mean, it's I Who Have Never Known Men. It does explore the female perspective, but I think it actually goes far deeper than that.
Yeah.
I think it explores the human condition, is what I would say. And I just love, to me, I feel like it's also an interesting juxtaposition between nihilism and existentialism, which I would get into more, but I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't read it. And then, oh my gosh, even though it's not, I don't know if it'd be a universal recommendation, but I forgot to mention that Pale View of Hills by Ishiguro.
Oh, yeah.
I am still like I finished that at the beginning of the month. Jimmy's heard my thoughts. I am on such a high about that book. Like Ishiguro, how are you such an amazing writer? Like what?
That was his
It blew
debut
my
too,
mind.
which is bananas.
What was that?
It's his debut. I mean,
I
it's
know.
crazy.
It's his first book. It's his debut. I mean, like, so the way I would describe that book is it takes place it's a frame narrative. It takes place, there's a present timeline, and then it flashes back to Nagasaki just post the atomic bombing there. And when you're going through the book, you're in this female perspective, this woman who left Nagasaki, and she has a daughter who's living in London. And you feel like there's this interplay between Western idealism when it comes to being a woman versus traditional Japanese meaning of being a woman. And I was like, okay, I'm following the themes. I'm going along with this. And then I finished the book. I'm like, wait, did I miss something? And then I thought back and processed my thoughts over the last few chapters. And I was like, oh, wait, what? And then I buddy read it with Murphy, and then I talked about it with her, and then she's like, "Wait, no, this." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And then it was like, I can't talk about it. I obviously can't talk about it except to say my reactions. But my reactions were just like, my mind is just going through the ceiling because I feel like this book, it does explore certain themes I think that you can kind of see, but then when you finish the book and you process it and you process it and you understand what he's actually doing, the way I'd like to describe it is it builds a whole new basement, a whole new deeper level to the themes he's actually exploring. And if you get it, I don't know, like I could see some people just not being as blown away as I was, but I was so blown away. I'm truly beside myself about how profound I thought that book was.
Wow.
Um, Ishiguro has not missed at all for me with the 4 books I've read so far.
Wow.
Just mind blown with what he's able to do in the way
What-
he's able to do it.
That's
with,
awesome.
With a review that's more sounds than words, it's really good. Oohs and ahs.
That is the most like reactionary review I think I've ever
That's
read.
great. No, it's great.
That's like the only way I could describe my experience of this book.
There's not a lot of books that do that to you, especially after you've read a bunch, right? So
Yeah.
that's good. That's
Yeah.
really good.
I actually sometimes struggle at reviewing a book I love more than one that didn't work for me.
Mhm.
I think it's often so much easier to point out the things
Yeah.
or the flaws or whatever didn't work for you. And when you get a book that you just want to gush about, just like, oh, it's amazing, everything was amazing. Like, okay, I need to say something concrete here.
I think it's hard with that book too, because I mean, Ishiguro does a lot of similar things book to book, and he has just such a strength with character voice, and he has a strength with giving you just enough information to lead you somewhere, and you don't see it until the end.
Mhm.
But he does it in such a subtle way, and he does it in such a minimalist way that to try to describe it is almost counter to what he's doing, because it is so minimalist and so subtle, but so profound. It's so difficult to talk about, and it's difficult to talk about without spoiling it because it's so short too.
Yeah. Wow. I wanted to, or Jimmy, did you give yours?
I did not. And of course I have more than one answer, kind of, which is
It's all good.
unfortunate. By the way, Johanna, I read I Who Have Never Known Men last week, and I would agree with you that, like, I think just saying it's just like a feminist work is like super reductive for what it is. And in fact, I mean, if anything, it's probably like the magnum opus of nature versus nurture in many ways. And you just can't talk about the book very much because people just have to read it. But
They do.
what a book it was. I thought it was fabulous.
Oh, I knew you'd love it. I
Mhm.
knew you'd love it. I'm so happy
Yeah.
to hear that.
I thought
Yeah.
it was great. So I have a book that I actually would recommend to most people, and that's James by Percival Everett. It's a Huckleberry Finn retelling. You don't have to read Huckleberry Finn. You can just read it. I didn't. I'm fine. It was amazing. It's in the running for my book of the year. If you are a fantasy reader, I think Windhaven. Windhaven is a must for a fantasy reader. I think it's a kind of a forgotten diamond. Like I really loved it. And then my selfish answer, which I would never actually recommend to everyone, but I'm going to, which is The Deluge. I think it's actually pronounced like deluge. Deluge, I think. Google's telling me we're going to say the deluge because
I only ever hear British people say this word, and so I always feel so weird when I say it.
Okay, well, I'm going to say the deluge, even if that's not correct, because I don't have enough time to rewire my brain because I've been saying it like that for 6 months. And when I looked on Google just now, it told me I was wrong. So now I'm having an existential crisis, which the book also gave me. Stephen Markley is an author who has written 2 books, one being The Deluge, one being Ohio, which is a fabulous book about a small town in Appalachia that has, well, small town problems. The Deluge is much more than that. The Deluge is like a tour de force of the divide that is plaguing America, and on top of that, a climate crisis that is pretty much inevitable despite wherever you live or whatever you do or whether you care or not. It doesn't really matter. And the thing about this book that is so hard to recommend is one that it's way too real and way too depressing. But at the same time, I think very, 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 very important. And I think Markley takes great care to show the effects of not just a polarization of the topic, but also the effects of the topic through different lenses, some of them being the most vain, benign, like examples of effect, and then catastrophic climate disasters. And he just balances those things really well with a lot of political turmoil. It's really hard to recommend because if you're exhausted by the world, which I am, it's not going to make you feel any better. and it's not going to shy away from anything. And I think it's just a raw inspection of all sides and everything in between. And The Deluge has a ridiculous cast of characters that are almost impossible to imagine all being in one book and somehow fitting. And he then plays with literary devices and perspective in a way that also makes you feel like you're reading something that is pretty like monumental when it comes to the art of writing. And to me, to do all of that while also being a hell of an entertaining book, like could make an amazing movie or miniseries. To me, it's just one of those books that stands alone, I guess. And you can call it post-apocalyptic fiction, maybe, or current apocalyptic fiction. Or you can call it climate fiction. You could call it an American novel. You could call it a drama. I don't know what to call the book except for excellent. So to me, that is the book I wish everyone would read and get something out of it. I just thought it's my book of the year so far. I mean, now it's in my book of the year. It's probably my top 10 favorite books ever. I mean, but it's not an easy read. Like, very emotional. It tore me up. And I think if you have a soul, it would tear anybody up. So, terrific science fiction. It's just so good. And also, we got to hope that Mark Lee continues to write. He's been poached by Hollywood. He wrote Paradise, which for the most part was a pretty good show. And I'm just praying that he doesn't just keep writing television, because we really need him, I think, in the prose form. So,
wow, that's a heck of a endorsement.
I know it's long too, though, right?
Oh, it's so long, and it feels long. Like, it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, it was like 1,000 pages, and it felt 200. No, it's dreadful. Like, it's the whole book makes you just want to die. But it's
Dang it, Jimmy.
I'm telling you, like, you just have to be prepared. Wipe out about a month and a half of your time and be like, I'm going to go to some dark places that, truthfully, are necessary, I think, if we want to figure our way out of this thing. So
I thought you were all about short fiction. What is it?
That should tell you, though. That should tell you how good I think it is, because I am tired of these long books. Like, I'm over it. But The Deluge earns every page, I think. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
I need to read Ohio, because I grew up in a small Appalachian town in Ohio as well. So
Josh, I know you're like where you're from.
Yeah.
You should read it.
Yeah, I definitely need to. All right, let's try to get caught up on the chat here. So David, I had to highlight this because I hiked the up to the top of the Fushimi Inara Shrine in Kyoto. And then I came back down a different way and got totally lost. And I was in some random neighborhood like 3K from my train station. Anyway, I just had to bring that up. That's just so cool that you're over there. Yeah, I'm with Anita. Just the whole the hikes that you're able to do over there. Johanna, is this the book that you were thinking of?
But I did read that. I did read that last year. No, it's a horror book, and it has the word grotesque in the title. I'm so sorry. I can't remember where I found it, but I will find it again, Josh, and I'll post it in the Discord. Apologies to everybody that I can't remember right now.
I'm looking for it.
Perfect. Another one for Windhaven. I definitely wrote that one down, as well as the chunk of the Deluge.
I'm going to have to get to that.
Well, thanks for hanging out, David. It is late over there.
Yeah.
So,
is it just Grotesque? Grotesque by Natsuo Kurita?
Yes, that's it. Okay, it's just called Grotesque. Thank you.
Okay.
Natsuo.
Ooh, it's got a 3.7 on Goodreads. It's probably a slammer. It's probably amazing. Yeah.
That's what that means.
Jimmy, I remember you talking about that on a video at one point. And so I always think about that. And you're so right. Like, every time I see a 3.6, I'm like, okay, that's either going to be amazing or horrible.
You're going to have something to say about it, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, all of the long price quartet books were like 3.6, 3.7.
Mm-hmm.
And that series blew me away. I'm like, okay, this is this is crazy.
I just had the same conversation with Philip too, with Philip Chase, and we were bringing up what else. The Darkness That Comes Before is also under a 3.7, I think. So yeah, it's a lot of books that are really well written.
Yeah, I think it's one of those tough things. It's like when someone sees something below a 4, even a low 4, you're like, is that worth my time? But I don't think any rating is necessarily reflective of worth time, right? Like, it can be a 3.5 star book and be well worth your time.
Yeah. I did. Oh, it's been a few years. I did a video where I looked on Goodreads because I've had a Goodreads since like 2009. So I have like 15 years of data, and I looked at my Goodreads to see what the lowest rated books on Goodreads were, and that I read, and like 7 of the 10 were right on, but like 3 of them were books I think I gave like 5 stars that I thought were amazing. So, I mean, you just never know. I mean, when it's the masses, you know that the popular thing is going to be there. Yeah, so the I'm going to reread Black House in November, knowing that the third Talisman novel comes out. I remember liking Black House, but I've also seen the trend that King did 2 books with Richard Chizmar, didn't like them. Talisman, nope. Sleeping Beauties might be his worst book. I haven't read Rage forever, but everyone says that's his worst book. But Sleeping Beauties could have been, like, halfway through, it could have been a great feminist novel. And then it turned into a B movie at the end. It was horrible. Like the most disappointing ending to anything I think I've ever read, like that bad. So I just don't, maybe King's just not a good collaborative writer. I don't know.
Well, I think he's really proud of the Talisman, though, is the impression I've gotten. And I didn't know that Peter Straub passed away a few years ago, by the way. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then but the question I have for you, Josh, is I think you kind of mentioned this in our chat a little bit, but could you tell the difference that this was a collab? Because if I hadn't known it was a collab, I wouldn't have guessed it. It felt very King to me. It has Dark Tower connections too, by the way, for those who are interested.
So I felt I could feel the difference more in the first half of the book. I think I mentioned at one point when we chatted about it that King has kind of some quirks in his writing style, and you love them or you loathe them. I love them. I love kind of the quirkiness, how just some of the things he'll put in his writing style, like he's able to often illuminate how someone will have 2 thoughts at the same time and show that in, I think, a clever way. And he kind of did that at the end of the book. But the first half of the book, I felt the writing style was super sanitized, is the way I felt it. Now, part of that may have been, I saw an interview with King where he said that when they wrote this, they alternated chapters, but he said that he changed his writing style so it wouldn't be obvious who wrote what chapters. And I think in doing that, the writing for me just felt kind of generic, especially early on. But I started seeing glimpses later, like maybe he just couldn't resist.
It felt like a King book to me, but I'm not as well read in King as you are. But that said, like I felt very similar with this too, as I did with it, in the sense that I felt like well, I don't know, like the horror stuff in it actually is pretty horrifying, but I felt like the real world or the real life conflicts were more uncomfortable for me for some reason. And I felt that way a little bit in this book too. Like some of the things that our character goes through in the real world rather than the portal fantasy world were a lot more intense at times.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were some good moments though. I hate to hate on the book 100% because there were some moments I was like, yeah, that was effective, but yeah, largely a miss for me though.
I wonder too, elements of the book that felt King is, I wonder if like most of the story was him, because it did have basically the Dark Tower tie-ins, the territories are basically Midworld and all of that. So I wonder if it was one of those like, hey, I have an idea for a book. Would you like to co-write it with me? And it came like that. I don't know. Because because I was expecting a lot more horror, because that's Peter Straub. He writes horror. So I was expecting more horror and less fantasy.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it just didn't quite have the tension that I was hoping for in the story, regardless of whether it was horror or fantasy. I just didn't feel like the stakes as intensely as I wanted to. But
I think for half the length, it might have been more effective. I think just the fact that it was so long didn't help.
Would you guys ever read a Peter Straub book? Like, I know Ghost Story, I think, is his most popular. Would you guys ever try one of his stuff?
I would, for sure. I mean, there was a book I read, Megan Lindholm wrote with Stephen Brust, I think is the author's name. And I didn't love the book. It was okay. It was like a 3-star read for me, but I liked the writing, and I actually couldn't tell, except for a couple spots, when it was Hobbs / Lindholm writing. which I was like, okay, I want to read this author here, even though I didn't love this book. So yeah, I think I'd do that. So looks like some love
That's
for
my
Sword of
favorite.
the Lictor.
That's my favorite for
Yay.
sure.
It's
Yeah.
sort of the lictor. It seems to be everybody's favorite of the four.
This is what I've heard this a lot about Gene
Mhm.
Wolfe. I've heard it's just he's kind of a lover, don't.
Oh, I love his prose. I guess I'm a lover. There, like I said, there are some things that I'm a little more mixed about or
Mhm.
question, but yeah, for the most part, I'm loving so many sentences.
Yeah. So Kathy's here. It's very late for you too, and I'm sure you're up late. We had a great chat yesterday over on Kathy's channel about Midnight Tides. If any of you want to go check that
Mm.
out, really sorry, not Midnight Tides.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Memories of Ice had a really, really great time talking about that
So
book.
good.
So,
Mhm.
yeah, Berry Giant. I definitely want to read that one.
Mhm.
Ishiguro, and I guess I hear more gushing from Johanna. I'll probably want to read more of him as an author anyway.
Mhm.
Which there we are. Yeah, for sure.
Ah,
So it looks like Derry's going to get to that one, but it's going to be a while. 106 people wait 7
it's
weeks.
now that is actually a popular book. I was looking on it at it on GOODREADS, and I think it is above a 4 point something rating, and it's even popular on Book Talk. So it is appealing to a lot of people,
Mhm.
which is cool.
It's been late bloomer though. It was published in, I believe, 94, I think.
That
And
sounds
it
right.
and then it was
Mhm.
translated and it's become much more popular since I mean, I'm not saying it was popular before, but like it's really hit like prime time since it became a English translated book.
I always find it interesting like that, how books kind of find an audience much later than when they had come out. Have
Mhm.
either of you read this one? I've never heard of this.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, historical fantasy with pirates. That sounds kind of cool.
Huh, no, I haven't.
Border Trilogy. I haven't read Pat Conroy, but he's an author I'd like to read sometime.
I've heard of
Yeah, I
that
have Lord of the
author.
Tides. I have Lord of the Tides, but I've not read it.
Yeah, that's a big one. I don't know if this is your favorite book of the year was Wandering In. That's one like I've zero doubt it's not for me, so I'm not going to try it.
I wasn't disappointed though. I knew I probably was not going to love it. I went into it with even, but I was like, I'm not going to be surprised if this is a at least middling experience. That was
Yeah.
a Patreon pick. Someone picked that for the Patreon pick. They wanted me to read the Wandering In.
So did they want you to read it knowing you wouldn't like it, or did they love it and want you to read it?
I think I got trolled a bit. Yeah.
Okay. Because I always wonder about that, because I've seen that a lot with Mike's channel, because he's so big, where he'll take recommendations, and I think a lot of people just won't take a booktuber's taste. They just want them to read their favorite books. And I forget what it was, but he was talking about something, and he was reviewing it, and he was like, why did you think I would like this? It's like, this is totally not a me book.
Yeah, and I will say the people who do enjoy Wandering In, I thought they took my distaste for it pretty well, and of course I was respectful. Like, I'm not going to just crap on somebody, but they were very fair. Like, yeah, that part does suck. Yeah, the writing's not great at the beginning. I'm like, okay, fair.
I haven't heard of this one, Ordinary Monsters.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
I've heard of it. I've not read anything about it though.
Yeah, David Copperfield's amazing.
Mm.
Might still be Tale of Two Cities. Those are probably my two favorite Dickens. Better than The Wandering In. That's good.
I believe it.
Percival Everett, that's James. So The Trees, I don't know that one either.
That one is, it's about Mississippi, and I think it has to do with Emmett Till.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Percival Everett's prolific. He's been writing for so long, and now that he's starting to getting a little bit more recognition from the awards, I think people are going back and reading. Like, that's certainly been my experience with him. Actually, Brian from Bookish is the reason why I started Percival Everett. He recommended him to me like 2 years ago. Yeah. And he told me to start with Erasure, and I think I started it with James and then read Erasure, and he was right. I probably should have started with Erasure. But he's fabulous. And talk about short books. I mean, 200 pages. He's great.
Wow. We need more of those.
Yeah.
Gotta normalize the shorter book.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, Max Garfield's here. Welcome.
Hello.
Yeah. I feel you. I feel you. Absolutely.
Mhm.
That's why I stopped doing. So I still do stars on Goodreads, but I stopped doing them on the channel because I didn't want to reduce it to a number.
Yeah, I
Like
get it.
hear about like what I think about it rather than just assigning a number to it.
Mhm.
And there was a little bit of pushback from a few readers, but it disappeared after like 2 months. So yeah. Sorry. Maybe you can be 249 unread on your shelves with that one.
Wow.
That's a good one. Splitting hairs, yeah. Have either of you read Ogres? Because I want to read that one too.
It's a banger.
Is
So
it
good.
really?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so good, dude. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Tchaikovsky's like, he's intimidating as an author though, because he's written so much.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
it's
he's been
just,
up and down for me, but I think it's mostly positive though.
yeah.
On my end, Ogres is worth it. I mean, that was definitely on my mind whenever you asked, like, what would you recommend to everyone? Like, I think that's probably a pretty good starting point for him.
Yeah, that's been recommended to me. I haven't read it,
It's really
but
good.
mhm.
I'm finally getting to House of Open Wounds
Oh,
in the
nice.
last quarter of the year. I read City of Last Chances last year, loved it. And I keep putting I do a quarterly TBR of like definite probably and maybes, and it's been on my maybe for like 3 quarters in a row. So I'm finally going to do it this quarter. But I feel bad because like the publisher sent it to me like over a year ago. Like sorry.
What can you do?
Yeah.
Mm.
So Forgotten Gem, Hal Duncan's Vellum. Never heard of that one.
I've never heard of that either.
I think I own
No.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's something that Bridger told me about.
Colorado Kid. Yeah, that one's yeah. I don't know if it's as bad as Sleeping Beauty though. I guess because it's so short, there's less of a commitment to that one.
Hmm.
Yeah, sorry chat that I'm like 7 minutes behind, but it's hard to keep up with some of you. We're
Mhm.
back in the King thing here. Yeah, the real world fears are great.
I
Hey,
love how he does that.
love
Mhm.
this. It for the first time. Big fan there. Got a few of us love Ghost Story, so try some Peter Straub there.
Okay.
It has a lot of lovers. Like, people really love that story.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just read Ghost Story by Jim Butcher, different Ghost Story. Have either of you read Dresden?
I
I've
haven't.
read To White Knight, I
Hmm.
think.
Okay.
And I kind of tapped out on it at that point. Yeah. I mean, I really think Jim Butcher's really talented. I don't know if there's an author better at starting a book. He's the
Really?
best.
Yeah.
He's the best opener
Yeah.
in the business.
Yeah, he doesn't waste time.
It's so his hooks. I mean, it's kind of noir. That's kind of
Yeah,
noir, right?
it
But
is.
he does it beautifully well. I think that he writes Dresden's POV super well. But there's just some stuff in the series that just really pisses me off. So I just don't read it.
His male gaze is horrible, especially early in the series. It does get better.
I've been
Uh,
curious about that. Like, is it yeah, I mean, I guess I'm
like
just curious about how that works.
yeah,
Then
it seems like every woman in the entire Dresden universe is beautiful, and he always has to describe them when he meets them. And it's like, okay, I can deal with that, but then he'll often keep doing that. And for me,
Oh.
there's just times where just there's times where it's like, okay, whatever. And then there's times where it's like, this could have been cut,
Yeah,
and
or the
he
age
he
of
does
said
he
girl.
does tone it down later in the series, but that aside, I'm kind of obsessed with the series right now. I love it. I think it's gotten really, really good once I got to, of course, changes. But yeah, actually, I've it's in my watch later queue. But Derry and Murphy had a chat about the male gaze in Dresden, which I need to watch
Mhm.
your chat.
Yeah, I mean, I think correct me, Derry, but is it spoilery, that chat? Because I am kind of curious about the male gaze in general lately. Because one thing I've often said is I don't feel like male gaze in books bothers me. Like, to me, either from or even the female gaze, like if two adults look at each other and find each other sexually attractive, and notice that, like, I just feel like
Yeah.
that doesn't bother me. I think where it bothers me, and I'm I hate picking on Wolf, but I think where it bothers me is, yeah, it can get gratuitous for sure, but it's also when it feels like a full evaluation of value. Like that person is worth
Uh,
less because they're not as sexually attractive, or they're worth more because they are, or there's an ageist thing, like, oh, what a pity they're old, like then they're not attractive anymore. Or the creepy side of that is like they look like a child and then they have sex with them. Like that's where the male gaze for me gets weird and uncomfortable and wonky.
Mhm.
But if it's like I said, two adults and there's that's a part of their interaction, or their,
mhm.
I guess, their honest, yeah, interaction. I think that doesn't bother me. So I guess it's like, is the line being crossed in one of those other categories?
I'm
At
not.
the end of one of the books called Proven Guilty, there was a scene that I kind of wanted to throw the book across the
That's where I quit.
yeah.
I just looked. That's where I was about to say
Okay.
this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's when I was like you did, like I'm surprised the editor just didn't say no with that scene, because the same like theme that he was going for in that scene could have been accomplished in a different way.
100% did.
Yeah. So
100%.
yeah, but yeah, that was the most egregious in the series, but it definitely, the next book was almost non-existent, probably because he got a lot of pushback, which he frankly should have. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's just times where the male gaze is just like, come on, Jim Butcher, like really? Like Harry will check out his friend's wife. Like for me, like that's an asexual being. Like I don't ever look at my friend's
Yeah.
wife like that, or their offspring like that, because that's
Oh,
not, yeah. So it's like,
yeah, that would bother me.
yeah,
That
because
sounds
it's
like it
like,
crosses the line.
and they are few and far between. I mean, but it's definitely there. I mean, it is definitely, it's definitely a thing.
I'm
But
not super sensitive to male gaze, but there's like certain aspects of it or how it's displayed, and I think proven guilty, age is a huge issue, and then like what we're supposed to take away from the scene is just like absurd.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
So it's like, I can't sit here and say some of my favorite books don't have it. They do, and it's always case by case basis. But I'll give it the Butcher though. His plotting and his writing, I think he's really talented.
yeah. I like Derry right here. Best Dresden Ulmer. The building was on fire and it wasn't my fault.
Yeah, the dude just gets it. Like
That's
he
cool.
knows. Yeah, he knows how to sell books.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I mean, he does have the noir down. I mean, it took a while. Like I saw one of them. Yeah, so yeah, I
Ger
mean,
to
yeah, I
bring
mean,
Bell
4
Tube's
books in,
comment there.
the 3rd book showed, like, I look forward to finishing and doing a or getting caught up basically and doing a tier list, because, like, my lower 2 tiers are mid and skip it, and, like, book 1 is very mid, and book 2 is skip it. Like, it's just simply not a good book, and then the 3rd one, like, gets good, but when it gets up to, I mean, some of these last entries are S tier for me, like incredible books. I mean, probably Changes is probably going to be my book of the year. But yeah, it does take a while, and it's hard to commit to that. Um, but the books are short and you can read them faster for
Mm.
sure. Um, Let me go back up and get caught up on the chat a little bit here. Janny can't imagine letting others pick our next read. Janny, when I did mine, I would do a poll of books I already owned that I already wanted to read. So, but
It's
I know,
helped me expand my horizons though. Like I would have
yeah.
never
Yeah.
read Stoner by John Williams had it not been for the
Oh,
Patreon pick.
yeah.
Snow was another book that even though I didn't love it, I thought it was a really cool book. So I agree actually, but I think I'm a better reader because of it.
Yeah. That's valid for sure.
I love that. I think that's
Yeah.
amazing. 'Cause I love surprising. I think there's nothing more awesome than being surprised by your own taste or
For
something
sure.
new that you can enjoy in a book. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I miss most. When I live in Austin now, but when I lived in Dallas, I was in a book club with a bunch of guys. We got together like every 4 to 6 weeks, and um, we read like way across the spectrum of things. And it was really interesting to me just reading a lot of different things. And then like one of my favorite things about BookTube is having like we had yesterday, Johanna, talking about a book. The discussions for me just really enrich the reading experience because you get different perspectives. get to hear what different people thought about different things, maybe point out things that you missed and vice versa. But I really like that book club because we would choose very different things, nonfiction, fiction, a lot of different topics. We would generally, like, each time when we'd get together, everybody would bring a book that we'd kind of talk about, hey, let's do this, and then, kind of vote it down. And like, I was introduced to Camus. I was introduced to Eric Larson, who's one of my favorite nonfiction writers. Barbara Tuchman, the same thing. So I kind of miss that. So that similar thing, Jimmy, where you get more breadth in your reading. And I kind of miss that group because I was able to kind of expand a little bit that way.
Yeah. And sometimes it's also just the kind of the invitation to connect with someone and talk to them about something that they enjoy as well. Like that almost makes the experience worthwhile, even if it isn't like a favorite book.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So funny story. Mike told me when we had chatted like 2 weeks ago, we all know how big his channel is. The publisher rejected him for an arc, but Jim Butcher sent it to him. So it's like, what is the publisher thinking? Like, one of the biggest proponents.
That happened to me with a John Gwen book. I wasn't given it by the publisher, and then he wrote them and was like, send this to him.
Yeah.
For Shadow of the Gods. Yeah.
Like, come on.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Jimmy, I haven't read John Gwynne. Which series should I do? Should I do the one with Malice, or
how much do you like Vikings?
They're fine. I mean, they're not my
Faithful and Fallen.
go-to.
Okay, Faithful and Fallen.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's not gonna. I don't think that there's not gonna be stuff in there or that's gonna like blow you away. But for me, it was like the found family aspects and like just, I guess, optimism. Even in some of the darkest times for me, surprisingly cracked through this cold, dead heart of mine, and I don't know. I still think pretty fondly back on that series.
Nice.
Yeah. Good to know. Just add more things to the TBR. Although I don't know how you guys keep track of yours. I have a spreadsheet, and it's kind of the same thing like my physical TBR. Like when at the end of this, I'll be writing down The Deluge, Mockingbird, when all these books I've written down from our chat. And it's like I read 100 books a year, and my spreadsheet is always like 350 books long. And like everything I want to read, I never get through it. For sure.
I've been very flexible with my TBR lately. I have some buddy read commitments, and I think those are just the only things I've been trying to keep set in stone. Otherwise, I've tried to allow myself a little bit of leeway with the books I want to read.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually planning a bunch of buddy reads next year, so I'm doing the opposite.
Oh, wow. What are you buddy reading next year?
Well, one of them I won't tell you who with because we haven't announced it yet, but we're going to do the Gap Cycle by Stephen R. Donaldson.
Ooh, I heard
which,
that's
Johanna, you would like the tie-in because the Gap Cycle is in many ways based off of Wagner's Ring Cycle.
Oh, that's right. Somebody told me that.
So I'm super even like the last opera is Götterdämmerung, the Twilight of the Gods, and like this one's called This Day All Gods Die is like the last book of it. So I'm buddy reading that one, so I'm really excited for that. That's kind of the biggest one I have planned for next year. And then John and I haven't talked about what we're going to buddy read, but we just agreed like we're going to do a buddy read every year like the rest of our lives. So we're going to figure something out that we're going to read. But that's the big one. And that one will spread out over basically not like 5 months, but over about 7 months. We have it kind of spread out. Gap Cycle's brutal, like all of Donaldson series. I do want to reread Thomas Covenant. So that's another one that I read in high school, and I vaguely remember it, but I think as an older reader, I might appreciate more of it. So I have that too. So Donaldson has kind of turned into, one of my priority type of authors.
That's interesting because he's actually like really high on my list right now of authors I want to read from, but I want to read his duology. It's like Mordant's.
Oh, Mordant's Need. Yeah.
Mordant's Need. Yeah. with the I always forget the title of the first book.
The
I
Mirror
know
of Her Dreams.
The Mirror of Her Dreams, and I do
Yeah.
own the book. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's like a
Yeah.
brick of a book.
Yeah.
And I've heard the audiobooks are really good for that duology. And it's funny
Mhm.
because Nico from Nico's Book Reviews is the one who's made me most interested in that duology. I
Yeah.
didn't know it was a duology when he told me about the first book. I thought it was a standalone. I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
am on it. That sounds
Yeah.
awesome. But then I joked with him. I'm like, this book, when I got it, I was like, this is a brick. This is a brick.
Yeah.
And he laughed at me because I guess the audiobook narrator, who's excellent, his name is Brick. So, yeah. But yeah, no, I really want to get to that duology specifically.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm ready to commit to Thomas Covenant or the Gap Cycle. I love that it connects to Wagner's Ring,
Yeah.
but my goodness, it sounds ambitious. I want
Just
to
like
get
Wagner's
through some
Ring.
other things first, but I think I want to start there with Donaldson. But that's cool
Yeah.
that you're getting into so much Donaldson next year.
Yeah. So I'll definitely probably be chatting with Nico and Jared because I know they're both
Yeah.
huge Donaldson fans. So get to Donaldson and rereading Malazan. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah. So and then Carlos and I from StoryTube, we're gonna do a duology by Dawn Winslow next year.
Nice.
Dawn Patrol, and I forget the name of the second book. So that's another one I have kind of lined up for next year. So I'm trying to do like 4 buddy reads in 4 different genres just to do that. But part of it is we all do our TBR videos, and I listed 10 things I wanted to do in 2025, and like I'm only going to succeed in 6 of them. So I'm like, okay, this year, like, okay, I'll do buddy reads. Like, okay, check. There's 4 success stories right there. So I don't want to fail on my TBR plan like I did this year, because I kind of did.
I think every year I've done it, like some sort of like 5 books I want to read this year. There's always at least one that gets left off, and it's just the nature of things.
Yeah. So let me ask both of you. I am halfway through Malazan.
Nice.
So I finished Midnight Tides in July, and I have next quarter I will get to Bone Hunters. So what's in store for me going forward? Of course, spoiler free.
Do you want to start, Jimmy, or do you?
Yeah, like what was your experience
Go ahead,
going
Jimmy.
through like Bone Hunters the last half of the series? 'Cause I've heard different things.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed every single Malazan book. There was nothing about it at any point where I felt like, oh, okay, I'm feeling done with this. Like when I finished it, much like Realm of the Elderlings in some ways, I didn't really want it to be over, which is a great sign, I think.
Yeah.
Retrospectively looking back, I think I have like new thoughts on the series in some ways, and some of that ties into some stuff that's actually not in the main 10 and some of the stuff that's actually in the novels of the Malazan Empire. Maybe more negative than positive, actually, but I do personally feel like book 6 is certainly a part of the back half and like throws a lot of ties down and a lot of groundwork that goes in. But I do feel like 7, 8, 9, and 10 are almost like they feel different, I guess, in some ways. I don't know if it's just because they got a little bit chunkier, which I don't know if the word count actually is big, but they felt a little bit chunkier to me. I think I like books 1 through 6 more than I like 7, 8, 9, and 10. But with that said, I still really love 7, 8, 9, and 10. But it just feels like there's a little bit of a shift, I guess, in my opinion. I don't know if that's something other people really feel. Ironically, I don't hear a lot of Malazan opinions. I don't know why. It just doesn't come across my purview a lot. So I'm sometimes out of the loop on like what people think of the series, except for the fact I know most people hate Dust of Dreams, and I think it's awesome.
I love it. Yeah.
I've been thinking lately, I'm like, did I like Dust of Dreams more than the Crippled God? I might have. Like, I almost want to reread the two to feel, because that is that, and I know that's not a popular opinion in any sense. But yeah, so to me, 7, 8, 9, and 10 almost feel as long as like books 1 through 6. I don't know. That's probably not true. But I think book 6 is like,
oh my gosh.
It's like, for me, it's the peak of fantasy in many ways, or at least close to that. I do think though, Midnight Tides is just such a great book and almost like a standalone in some ways.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a pretty good litmus test to like if you're going to be along for the ride for the back half, because he just does so many things that are throwing you into the deep end once again and resetting a lot of stuff, and you're just like, really, dude? But if you can catch on to that and continue to be curious, I think it's going to be pretty successful.
I love that. I actually would echo some of those thoughts. I also love the entire series. I'm not somebody. I think the only book I guess I could say that I did feel like my enjoyment waned a bit when I was reading Dust of Dreams, which is my hottest take probably. I enjoyed Gardens of the Moon more, but part of that was that I had no idea what I was in for. I read it before I started a channel, before I knew much about the series at all. I didn't even know there were 10 books. I didn't know we were going to a new continent. I didn't know it was just so different than what I was expecting. And I think it just I think I read against it a little bit with my expectations. But that said, I think that that's the one I'm most curious about on a reread. And then Reaper's Gale, I did have a mixed experience where the first 3 quarters of the book, I I kept on feeling like I was on a roller coaster that kept on getting exciting and then flatlining. And I was like, what's going on? I'm like, I was getting excited and then flatlining. And then I got to the end and felt like the floor was pulled out from under me. I was blown away by the end of the book. Maybe I had a bigger reaction, I think, to that book than most people I talk to at the end. But uh, I also really loved what Dust of Dreams did in terms of how it explored different nomadic societies. I think that that was so fascinating to me. And there's also one of the best battle scenes, in my opinion, is at the end of Dust of Dreams. And then the Crippled God, that's my favorite book. I still like get so I just remember my emotions more than anything. And yeah, that book is just, I don't think I've never had an experience quite like the Crippled God. I've never quite had an experience when I finished that book. And I went back to reread the beginning of Gardens of the Moon, and it was like reading the book, putting on a whole new pair of glasses. Like, it just read so differently after finishing the
Mhm.
10 books. So I'm pretty high about the books, but I will say that what I've gathered just talking to people is that there does seem to be a difference. I do think there is a difference with the later half of this series, like books 7 through 10. I
Mhm.
think some people, a lot of readers, maybe, I don't know if a lot of readers, but I think there's a good section of readers from what I can gather that maybe are not as high on the last part of the series as they are on the first 6.
Yeah.
Um, and I also have to say that, like, for me, it's so hard to rank them, but like for me, definitely the Crippled God is my favorite. And I would maybe say, as much as I love Bone Hunters too, I would maybe say Midnight Tides might be my second favorite, just because it's the one that I think about the most, oddly, and
Mhm.
it's the one that makes me think the most about our real world. And it's also interesting because I recently finished Live Ship Traders, and I know this is gonna sound weird, but I feel like there are some interesting parallels and contrasts you can make between Midnight Tides and Live Ship Traders thematically, and with what they're doing, like the way they explore slavery, the way that they explore colonialism to some degree, but like this transactional aspect.
Yeah.
It does it in a different way, and there's some like different family dynamics in Midnight Tides, but also trauma and healing from that trauma. Like, I feel like there's really interesting conversation to be had when you look at the comparisons between those two books or two series, that series and Midnight Tides. Um, but yeah, phenomenal book, Midnight Tides. And I'm so glad that you're enjoying your journey. Can't wait to hear what you have to say, of course, because everybody's journey is going to be so personal, so individual.
Well, I know that, like, when we were chatting yesterday over on Kathy's channel, when people started putting their rankings in the chat, like, nobody agreed.
No.
That's why I just love hearing all the different perspectives, because so many. I remember, actually, Johanna, when you had David and Alan on, you were talking about Malazan, and they were polar opposites on Reaper's Gale. Like, I think David thought it was the best, and Alan thought it was the worst, and it's just interesting that people love the series have such divergent opinions about all the individual parts of it. But actually, Dawn's comment here, I think, is yeah, it's similar there. Because if you're looking at the whole, it's going to be a little different than looking at
I like that take.
each individual
But
part.
to me, that's a positive thing, though. Like, it's the
Yeah,
same reason why I wanted to read from Ishiguro, because I watched a couple of rankings, and I have a friend here in town who's a huge Ishiguro fan, and his girlfriend too, and they both have read all of his books. And every single ranking I've seen so far, which granted isn't a lot, but I think the 4 different rankings I've seen, all completely different favorites, all completely different orders, and that the books are doing different things. And I thought that makes me curious. That
yeah,
means that this is an author doing some interesting things with their takes, with their experimentation. And I think that that's, to me, that's a positive thing. If
yeah,
everybody has different, like a different ranking or different takes about the books.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I even felt that just with the first 5 books, because I think I mentioned after I finished each book, like each book at that time was my favorite.
Yeah.
Because he does tend to stick landings very, very well. Thinking about it now, it's kind of like it's either like Dead House Gates or Midnight Tides are my favorite.
Mm.
I think I mentioned yesterday. I think Midnight Tides is just objectively better written. It
Mm.
just seems like it's just so much more focused, and I know like one aspect of being a reader, I think that like pacing and all of that is very subjective, but it feels
Mhm.
like it's not as slow as the other ones. But yeah, I mean, love that. But yeah, so I'm gonna be into Bone Hunters end of November.
Oh,
So
it's so
uh,
good. I think Erickson himself has said that it's almost like 2 books in one, and that
yeah,
was honestly how I read it. I read, like, the first half, and then I had put it on pause to read some other book another book I had to get to, and then went back and read the second half. But, it's
yeah.
so incredible what he does in that book. I just so many good
Apparently,
moments.
there's some chapter that you have to read in one
7.
sitting. Chapter 7. Okay, I got to
I
remember.
didn't read it in one take, but
Oh, okay.
it's too long. I'm a slow reader, but it's brilliant. And if you're able, and you will be, because you read like what, 100 pages an hour, so
With
you'll
Malazan,
probably
it's like 40.
what?
Yeah, Malazan I read a lot slower.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, but yeah, you'll probably still be able to do it. But it's absolutely brilliant, that chapter,
that's good to
masterpiece.
know. Well, I generally I have been the one of the things that's made me successful with Malazan is I very strategic about when I read them. So I'll be reading them, basically my Thanksgiving break is 9 days. So I'll be reading it that week.
Wow,
So I'll have
Nice.
time to, okay, can't finish in that chapter today. I guess that's my goal tomorrow. So um
so good,
yeah. So top tier fantasy. Yes.
definitely.
I would agree.
Oh, there you go. Ishiguro rankings.
Nice.
How
Yeah, I
many
know that Sam is a big fan of Ishiguro as well.
how many books has he written?
That's a good question. Sam, can you answer that
Yeah,
for us?
I like 9.
That sounds about right.
He also has a book, I believe, of like lyrics, right? And like music
He
as
wow.
read.
well. I read.
Yeah, I don't know that one. But he's fairly prolific, I think.
He is, and a lot of his stuff does share themes, like most,
Mm,
most
Yeah.
writers. He's obsessed with memory.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
very cool. Anita had a question somewhere up here. Oh, here we go. What is one book or series you must read before the end of the year? Like you would delete your channel if you don't read it.
I don't have anything like that.
Yeah, I don't put that kind of pressure on myself.
No,
Yeah,
no.
I mean, I agree. I think if I had to pick a series that I'd like to finish, though, is like maybe like the priority series on the channel. It's probably Final Architecture by Tchaikovsky. It's really good sci-fi. I'm really enjoying the start of book 2. Ironically, like there's things about it I don't that kind of grate me, but it's more of like an author thing. There's just something about the way Tchaikovsky starts books that always like battles my brain. And sometimes the way he words things, I'm like, why would you word it like that? Not because it's objectively bad, just like probably my brain just not working, right? But that's the one I would really like to see the resolution of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joanna, anything?
Yeah, well, I would really, really like to finish this by the end of the year. So this is the second
Yeah,
half of Book of the New Sun. That would be ideal. And I think that is going to happen too. I think that's going to happen.
that's
And
good.
then the other, so that's my priority series, I would say, if I have a priority series. Still chipping away at Wars of Light and Shadow, but waiting on AP to have a discussion of book 7, which Philip and I finished in January. So
This is the new crippled god chat.
I know, exactly. Yeah, I know AP's been super busy, but yeah, I've been I am interested in getting back to that. I really enjoy Trader's Knot. And then what else? Oh, there was something else I was gonna say. I know No Life Forsaken is coming out. That's book 2 in the Witness trilogy by Stephen Erickson. I think that's coming out next month. I was gonna reread The God Is Not Willing. I don't think that's gonna happen at this point, but I know Andy and Rid did a discussion about it, so I might just go and just listen to their discussion and see if it brings memories back.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I guess one of mine is I'm one book beyond. So finishing Sun Eater is definitely a priority for me. Disquiet Gods was my favorite of the series. So I don't know.
Oh yeah, I forgot I was reading that series.
Yeah.
I
think that's another series where a lot of people have different ideas of what they like most. I liked Disquiet Gods felt like a sequel to Howling Dark, and Howling Dark was more philosophical, and I kind of liked that aspect of the series the most. So I liked Disquiet Gods a lot. So that's coming out. I'm actually not going to be able to read that right away because I'll be reading Bone Hunters, which is my other priority, because that's going to come out when I'm planning on reading Bone Hunters. So I'll get to Shadows Upon Time, I guess, at the end of the year. So I guess those would be my 2 priorities. Oh, here we go. 8 novels and a short story collection for Ishiguro.
Good to know.
So how many of each have you read? Because I've only read 1.
I've read 4.
4?
Yeah, I think have we read the same 4? Have you read more, Jimmy?
So I've read Never Let Me Go, Claire in the Sun, Pale View of Hills, Remains of the Day. And is that it? Is that it?
That's what I've read too. Same
I
ones.
think that's it so far. And the next one will either be Buried Giant or The Unconsoled.
Yeah, I have the Buried Giant. I'm excited about that. I'm also curious. I'm excited about the Unconsoled. I do have a friend that's his favorite, but my friend also has very different kinds of takes. So curious about that. I think it's a little more experimental.
Yeah, I've heard Unconsoled is rough for some people, but I think I'll like it.
Yeah, the only one I read Clara in the Sun with that book club like 10 years ago, like when it came out. So that's the only one I've read by him. But yeah, I'll definitely read more. Buried Giant is probably the next one for me because I like I don't know if it's a spoiler. There's a tie-in to something.
Interesting.
Yeah. So bye, Derry. Thanks for hanging out. It was like way late over there. So always happy to see Derry in the chat, and we'll talk Dresden at some point. So here's a good question. Speaking of Ishiguro, any other non-fantasy authors you want to get into soon? One of my priorities right now, because I've, after getting back into Dennis Lehane last year, is I started reading more Don Winslow this year. And so I definitely want to continue reading him, which I'm doing that buddy read with Carlos next year. But he's kind of a non-fantasy author priority. And then the Donaldson that I'm going to start with next year is sci-fi. So I guess that's kind of my answer, Stephen R. Donaldson too.
Yes. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Rid's going to love this answer. Emily Bronte.
Nice.
Probably number 1. I think Tara Westover, specifically for the book Educated. I'm kind of interested in that. And then Lehane and Winslow are pretty close to the top of the list too, because of our good friend Carlos constantly pushing those 2 on me. And I still would love to read some more of old Barb Kingsolver. I think she's excellent. Of the 2 I've read from her. So
just don't read Since We Fell, because apparently I chose the weakest Lehane.
Yeah, you chose the only Lehane novel that I can't recommend.
It was
someone has been watching StoryTube. That's not good.
Yeah, I know. He did grill me on that. But I have to say, like, it was interesting because around that time in our Discord, we had the question of the day about, is there a difference between a good writer and a good storyteller? And that is a book where I'm like, I could tell like the writing skill there, like on a sentence by sentence way. The dialogue was tight. I thought he had some good atmospheric descriptions. There were several little details in the writing. I thought, yeah, there's a lot of talent here, but the
Yeah.
story just did not cohere
Yeah.
at all. But yeah, for me, there's an author that David from Four Corners of the Page told me was very Ishiguro like. That reminded him a lot of Ishiguro, but I'm also nervous about that. Like, part of me is like, oh, I need to find other authors like Ishiguro because I love him so much. But then part of me is like, but what if I don't what if that works against me? I
Who
don't
is it?
know.
Who
And
is it?
it's a author, the author's name is Julian Barnes, and he wrote a book called
Oh, yeah.
The
Oh,
Sense of an Ending. Have you
That
read it?
that's yeah, I read it with that book club I mentioned. That book's fantastic. Yeah.
Oh. So
Um,
maybe I will get to it then. It did
yeah.
so I listened to the sample, the
Mhm.
audiobook sample, and I'm like, "Wow, that does feel very Ishiguro, like the."
It's pretty
Mhm.
amazing. It's straight up literary fiction, and it's one of
Mhm.
those like where you're reading it and like this is good, this is good, this is good, and then you get to the end and you're just like gobsmacked with just everything that he kind of brought together in this story and what it was really about. And it's short. It's like a tiny
I'm
little
ordering it right now.
200-page book.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, it's fantastic. It was, I mean, that was before I had a channel, but like if I did book of the year back then, I'm sure it would have been like a finalist. It's really good. So
Mm,
I haven't read
yeah.
anything else by Julian Barnes, but Sense of Endings, fantastic.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get to it. Jimmy, let's buddy read it maybe if you
There
have
you
the
go.
time. And then,
I'm
there
buying it now.
what was that?
I'm buying it right now.
Nice. Yay. And then the other, what was it? I am still kind of curious about that grotesque book I was talking about, that
Mhm.
the Japanese author.
Yeah.
Um, let's see, is it Jane Eyre? Is that the book that you're interested in, or
Other
Jimmy?
Bronte.
Is that?
Yeah, so I've actually read the beginning of Wuthering Heights, and as I was enjoying it, it was also a bit dense, just a little bit. And I was told that Jane Eyre is probably a better place to start. I don't know if that's true. And obviously, that's Rid's favorite book of all time. So when she, did her pitch about it and comparing it to Robin Hobb and stuff, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
probably where I want to start. Wuthering Heights is
Yeah.
shorter, which is why I was like, well, maybe I'll do Wuthering Heights. But
I
Mm.
I love Jane Eyre, even though it's not a Josh book. But I didn't like Wuthering Heights at all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah, I didn't like the characters, didn't like the story, but I love Jane Eyre. I mean, it's like a top classic for me.
I would love to read. So I've been thinking about this lately, and I feel like I need recommendations. I might just do a pitch out there at some point for recommendations, but I'd really like to get to more short classics because I read that Dostoevsky short story White Nights last
Yeah,
month and just adored it. I thought it was so. It just spoke to me on so many levels, even though it's like a very on the surface, unrequited love story. I
yeah,
still love what he was doing in terms of exploring the dual side of being a daydreamer, of somebody who's daydreams, and the beauty and the romanticization and the way that we actually form human like romantic connection through that idealization and that ability to be a daydreamer, but also the pitfalls of that when we live in our daydreams and we're not grounded in reality, and then we end up finding ourselves quite alone. And I don't. There was some interesting exploration of that, and I love the ending of that story. It actually reminded me a little bit of Schumann's Dichterliebe song cycle. So yeah, anyway, sorry, I'm going off, but I'm really kind of curious about short classics.
yeah.
That's something I would love recommendations on in general, or
I
short
have a
classics.
great collection of it's called novels. I'm looking at it. Novels, Tales, and Journeys by Alexander Pushkin.
Oh
I
yeah,
know I
I've
know
heard Pushkin.
Igor on the Discord raves about Pushkin. It's like his favorite one of his favorite authors, if not his favorite author. And I remember enjoying that one quite a bit. And it was just a collection of short stories, novellas, that kind of thing. So might be one worth checking out.
Yeah, that might be worth checking out for sure.
mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've heard this about Malazan. Not know what to do. Actually, Jimmy, I remember you were on a live with Johanna and some others, and you had like literally just finished the series.
Yeah.
And I remember you looked like punch drunk.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it does have that effect on you. And you kind of like look back at everything that you just read and you're like, what? Like, what do I do
Yeah.
next? And the answer is that you reread Gardens of the Moon immediately.
Yeah.
That's actually
I mean,
the answer.
I felt kind of
Wow.
bad for some of the books I read right after finishing The Crippled God.
Well, I finished Realm of the Elderlings and Malazan and Dark Tower within like 4 months of each other.
Wow.
So after that, I was like, well,
Life
whatever.
over.
Yeah, like whatever, I guess, right?
Oh,
Wow.
I almost wonder if I did John Gwynne dirty because I read Shadow of the Gods not long after finishing The Crippled God, and I was like, this is kind of like okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just didn't quite connect to it as much as everybody else. Yeah. I mean, there was certainly talent there for sure, but
if I take like an imbalance of like something I read and how much it like affected what I read, there's a few books that stand out to me in that way. But I think when it comes to Hobb, it was like character investments.
oh yeah.
I've really and still to this day, like I've really struggled to get into a cast of characters as much as I did with Realm of the Elderlings. I've had some really great stories that were like first person narrations that I felt I was attached to the psyche. One of the best examples would probably be like Emma Newman's Planetfall. I thought that was just such a wonderful inspection, or maybe a harrowing inspection of OCD and anxiety in someone.
Oh.
Happens to be a sci-fi and an alien planet, but it's much more about that, I think. And so I've had novels where like I get that feeling, but a whole cast of characters like deeply emotionally rooted in. I don't know. Maybe Cloud Atlas was probably the only other one I can think since finishing Realm of the Elderlings.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm as much of a character guy anymore. Meaning that like I kind of accept the fact that the characters are like vehicles to do these things, and if they feel realistic, that's like an extra bonus for sure. But I don't know. I just haven't had that depth since I finished Realm of the Elderlings. I think that's like the biggest gap for me.
I feel you on that. What was the OCD representation? Sci-fi?
Planetfall by Emma Newman. It's a series, but you don't have to read on if you don't want to. Book one has a pretty good ending, and I might read more of it just because I like her writing a lot, but it's not a necessity. So
okay.
So Janny has given this recommendation before. It's on my spreadsheet. Heaven Tree, Edith Pargeter, which I know like some other people read that. I think Nikhil was part of that.
Yeah, Nikhil and Jake, they said
that's
it.
Right. Yeah.
And I know that they haven't, I don't think that either of them have read any Guy Gabriel Kay, but the way that they were all describing it, I'm like, this is giving me the strongest Guy Gabriel Kay vibes. But speaking of which, Josh, you need to read Curse of Chalion by Lois McMaster Bujold.
Banger.
Oh, that's already on the sheet.
That's got it. Yeah. You got to get to that.
It's real good. It is real good.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to
I
read
want to read Paladin of Souls.
Same. It's been sitting there on my shelf, and it's slowly moving its way up. I can feel its inevitability at this point.
Yeah, incredible author. That was a huge positive discovery for me this year when it comes to authors, was Bujold.
Yeah, Bujold's.
I know Jake's been raving, and we have a lot of very similar, our big favorites are the same favorites. This is one that's on my spreadsheet too. Summer of the Red Wolf. I don't know if maybe Janny recommended it and that's where I got it from, but yeah, that's a good one.
Of the Red Wolf.
Never heard of that. I'll write it down.
Here you go. You got a buddy read for Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre is amazing. Really is.
Very excited for it.
Johanna, is this the one, Cursed Bunny, Bora Chung? Is that the one?
I don't know. No, I don't know. I thought it was Japanese author, so I think that might be different.
Okay.
I'll have to look it up and it's Natsuo Kirino, and one of her books is called Real World, but I thought one of hers had the word grotesque in it too. Am I wrong? Let me see. Yeah, there is one called Grotesque. So it's Natsuo Kirino. Yeah. I don't know if her translations are any good, sadly, but it's popular. So Curse of Chalion is not in first person, I don't think. Is it? I can't remember now.
Wuthering
People
Heights, the neatest most read book. First 50 pages, 20 times, but never read beyond that. That's great. Oh, this is great, Philip. Yeah. A Malazan support group.
Yes, totally.
So I never read that short story, but I seem to remember there was a movie
Oh,
or an
yeah.
adaptation of that. The Jungle, Upton Sinclair, maybe, or maybe I did read it. I don't know. Yeah, that's a classic. That's really good. Yeah, and Derry could form the Realm of the Elderling support group for sure.
I might have started the first few pages of Fool's Errand.
Yay!
I
The
really
first,
wanna I just
yeah,
oh gosh, there's
I,
something just addictive to me about Hobbes' writing.
the beginning of that book in particular is just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing.
Mm.
So
But
good.
but I've forgotten everything about Farseer. So, it's like, oh my goodness. It's been 3
It'll be
years.
okay.
Yeah, you'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, but yeah, the first 150 pages of Fool's Errand is, for a lot of us that have read it, is one of the most memorable parts of the series.
Mm.
And I'll just leave it at that and let you just experience it, because there's things that happen that don't happen, and anyway.
I'll be taking a
Hope you love
long time reading it because I have other reads going on, but
Yeah,
so just letting people know if they
yeah,
don't hear my thoughts for a while.
yeah. Hmm.
I need to
Yeah,
get to dinner too.
I think I
Mm.
read them about the same time, but I was an adult when I read those finally. Because same thing, like I went through my reading always goes through kind of phases where it's like I read, get focused on something and then do that for a couple years and then pivot and everything. And I got into a big classics phase at one point, and for probably like 18 months, like every other book I was reading was a classic, and knocked out a lot of those. And I really loved a lot of that, just because of it's like there's a reason why people still talk about these books, and most of those I felt like, yeah, I could see why.
Yeah.
Not a fan of that one though. I didn't like Gatsby. Anyway.
I remember enjoying the movie.
Yeah, old
But
sport.
yeah, but I don't know that that would be for me either. Like, just watching the movie, I'm like, "This is a good as a movie." I don't know if I'd enjoy this as a book, but
In general, I didn't connect with the Lost Generation authors very
mm,
much. Probably the only Hemingway I really loved was A Farewell to Arms, and the others, like Sun Also Rises. It was, I don't know, it just, it didn't feel like I don't want to say Hemingway. I don't want to say his story was pointless, but it felt like it was just such a meandering story of, this main character getting drunk on vermouth, and, because they're part of the Lost Generation. And I don't know. I never just didn't connect with authors of that era. I guess what they
mm.
were saying is just not something that I necessarily loved.
Do you feel like there's a reason why they weren't found? I'm here all day.
Yeah. Which Gatsby movie? The new one or the old one?
New one.
Yeah. I don't know
I
if I saw
watched
the
it,
old one.
it was interesting how I watched it. It was several years ago. I was, flying a lot by myself during that time in my life, and I ended up, on a layover, and somehow I ended up next to this guy, and somehow we ended up connecting, and it turned out he was from my hometown, which was really random because I think we were in, I don't remember, Atlanta airport or something, and he invited me to, since he had extra, AirPods or earbuds or whatever, he invited me to watch the movie with him on our flights, and I was like, "Okay," because we were on the same flights anyway.
Mhm.
It was cool. I don't think I ever saw him again, but we ended up watching the movie together, and so I watched the movie with the stranger, and it was fun on a plane.
That's cool. Yeah, I feel the same thing, that his real lifestyle kind of drifted into his writing. Yeah, Steinbeck's my favorite classic author.
Oh, I need to
I
read
mean,
more Steinbeck.
I love Steinbeck.
East of Eden, one
Yes.
of my favorite classics. Maybe I just love that book so much.
Yeah, I think when I did my top 50 books. I put East of Eden number 2, I think 2 or 3. It was
Mhm.
way up there. I mean, I adore that book. I've read like 14 by Steinbeck at this point, and he's pretty consistent. I mean, he kind of has his thing that he does, but I definitely like that
What's a short Steinbeck that you love that you would highly recommend?
right there of Mice and Men.
Mice and Men? Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
writing that down. I'm ill-read when it comes to classics, so this is helpful.
Yeah, I enjoyed Metamorphosis by Kafka too. That's one of those
Yeah, that's
memorable
right.
first line books. But yeah. I don't know, Jimmy, you big on the classics, low on the classics?
I have had mixed experience. I'm definitely not as like well read as many other people in classics. The biggest thing for me, and you mentioned earlier, is like Dostoevsky is just like a constant battle for me because I want to love what he's doing, but I can never seem to get over the way he does dialogue. I know that sounds weird, but everyone's just shouting, and I just like, I don't know. There's something about it that just feels so what's the word I'm looking for? Overacted, I guess. I don't really
Yes,
know.
theatrical, melodramatic,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I know it's a bit annoying to compare Tolstoy to him all the time because
Yeah.
there's plenty of other Chekhov. There's plenty others to compare, but I just had such a beautiful time with Tolstoy, and uh, to go to Dostoevsky, and a lot of the things that Dostoevsky's talking about are pretty interesting, I think, but might be one of those times where I think the author is almost more interesting than his works for me personally. It's kind of like Philip K. Dick. Like I really like PKD, but PKD is almost more interesting when you realize why he was writing his books or what he did in the books for
Mhm.
whatever. Like the I Ching and Man in the High Castle is a fascinating story. The book is, I mean, a lot of people think it's awful. I like it, but it's probably not a great book, but
Mm.
the story behind it's insanely cool. So I've tried Crime and Punishment 3 times, different
Mhm.
translations, and I just can't seem to get through it.
Wow.
Brothers Karamazov, actually, I was enjoying finally, but it was already like 150 pages in, and then I ended up picking up something else. So like I finally got over the hump with that one, and then put it down like an idiot. And then I tried The Idiot and Notes from the
Mhm.
Underground. Didn't like those. Yeah. So I guess a lot of my classics have actually been majority Russian because I've read Chekhov, read a lot of Tolstoy. I think I've read every single Tolstoy short story at this point, or
Wow.
close to it. What other classics have I read, Johanna? I
I'm
feel like
trying
you
to
would
think.
know.
I love that I'm being asked this question.
Yeah,
Uh,
you're being put on the spot. Does Stoner count? I don't think it's
it's a
classic.
modern classic. I think it counts as a modern classic.
There's people who'd argue that.
I don't know, Jimmy, I found that there are,
Yeah.
when you talk to people about Russian literature, there is the Tolstoy and the Dostoevsky kind of camps that they don't always,
Yeah.
you know,
And I did compare
you
them
kind
a
of,
lot.
you may appreciate them both, but you will like
Well,
one more than the other.
Tolstoy was pretty critical of Dostoevsky, as was Virginia Woolf as well. And I've said it a million times, so I'm sure people are tired of hearing me say it. But Virginia Woolf's criticism of Dostoevsky always feels true to me, which is that it's a group of people in a room screaming out their darkest secrets at the top of their lungs. And I'm just like, yeah, it's that is literally it, right? It's like,
That is
I'm here
so
for
White
it.
Knights, by the way. That is so White Knights. That's
yeah,
exactly what the story's about. And I agree with you. So I read Crime and Punishment with my mom last year because it's her favorite book of all time. And then I had her read White Knights because I was like, I need to talk to somebody about this. And it's funny because when she talks about it, she's like, he gets characters, he gets their thoughts, and and she just like can go on and on about how she feels he's so realistic. But my mom's also a theatrical kind of personality a little bit. And to me, I'm like, I feel like his characters are very theatrical to me. And I'm like, and
Mhm.
he's very good at writing eccentric characters too. I think
oh
that's like
yeah,
a
yeah.
huge strength of Dostoevsky's. But I don't know that I would say that these are like the common people I'd see on the streets. I feel like I could just see a play production of it, and I appreciate it for that vantage point. But I get you. I don't I think it is like people screaming their secrets is such a perfect description. Yes.
It's interesting too to think about, like, and this is kind of a side tangent here, but like, isn't it? Maybe I probably shouldn't say this on public. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of like contemporary authors like and I don't even necessarily critiquing, but like bad mouthing other authors, even if I agree with them, I'm always like I've seen a lot of authors on Twitter be like, George R. R. Martin's a fat, lazy piece of shit. And I'm like, whoa, dude, I'm never reading your books. Like, never reading your book. I am, by the way, being hyperbolic. They for a fact, I'm an entertainer, but I just see like I don't know, subtle jab or whatever, and I'm like, oh, like even if there's a shred of truth here, it just feels like icky to me. I think it comes from wrestling and the way wrestling works between wrestlers and such. But anyways, with that said, I am fascinated by the cattiness of critiquing of other authors like back in the day. Le Guin did this a lot. Ironically, I don't actually agree with Le Guin on some of them. I actually think she's way off base towards the end. But I'm kind of a hypocrite, I guess. Like, because contemporaries, I'm like, I don't like it as much. It kind of feels like cringe to me. But then, like Virginia Woolf, like writing reviews, I'm like, oh hell yeah, get them. Like, it's like I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because I'm removed. I don't know.
Yeah, it feels different when it's more historic than like two people talking about it now.
Yeah. And there's also like, I almost feel like the difference is actually, I can tell you the difference. Never mind. I can tell you the difference. The difference is like, there's like an approach to criticism that I see from, I'll just use Le Guin as the example, but it could be anybody from back in the day. That is generally written out and well thought out and brought to a certain point that maybe is a criticism of something bigger. And now it's just like, someone's just tweeting it. And it's like, it's so low effort. Maybe that's the difference. So.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering too, because I feel like, I don't know. Somebody could say the Virginia Woolf's comment, if it were tweeted, maybe it would be of a similar vein, but I don't know.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I'm on really shaky ground right now. Trust me, I know.
Yeah, Mark Twain.
I wonder how that's changed nowadays too, because nowadays I feel like authors are having to promote themselves so much that like the capitalist part of that and the industry part of that, how that's changed and how that affects the way they critique each other versus back then. Because back then, I don't know that it was, I wonder if they were under the same kind of financial constraints, if that makes sense, or incentives.
You're definitely going into the direction that I was thinking, and a lot of the stuff I see, whether it's shared on social media or whatever, it always feels an attempt to like push themselves rather than maybe talking about the craft or whatever it might be. So that's kind of my train of thought too.
Interesting.
Very, very cool. Well, I know that some of us have some things coming up in around noon. So we're going to go ahead and want to thank my guests, Jimmy and Johanna, for hanging out the last 2 hours, just chatting about books. One of my favorite things. I want to thank all you that hung out in the chat and contributed to our discussion. You were awesome to be here. And I just hope everybody has a great rest of your day. I hope you read some great books in the last couple months of the year. And we will just see you next time.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Josh. This was fun. Again.